The ancient immortal sight turned out to be a scheme orchestrated by the deserted Heaven Emperor and the corpse Immortal Emperor, acting across time and space. Looking at it from a different perspective, in the original novel, the ancient immortal sight is the greatest opportunity in this era. Especially in this era, where flowers have bloomed and withered over 3,000 times, symbolizing the full blossoming and imminent decline of all 3,000 great Tao. Therefore, this is the last time the ancient immortal sight opens, and the greatest opportunity in creation will also manifest in this era. So, when the ancient immortal sight opened this time, it attracted 50 million geniuses to enter. However, no one would have thought that the ancient immortal sight was actually a scheme, and the greatest opportunity inside was not something these geniuses could grasp. So, what exactly is in the ancient immortal sight? Why is it said to be a scheme? Although the original novel didn't mention this scheme, if we look at the two greatest opportunities in the ancient immortal sight, you understand. Firstly, the greatest opportunity is a drop of blood, which comes from the future deserted Heaven Emperor. He traversed endless time and space, following events all things primordial cauldron to this era, entering the ancient immortal sight, and then manifesting and voluntarily merging into Stone House body. The second opportunity is the corpse Immortal Emperor's Emperor Sword, later known as the Great Luo Sword Embryo. This is a true supreme divine weapon, refined by the corpse Immortal Emperor, using the leftover materials from the bronze coffin of 3 lifetimes. This sword had several owners, but they all met tragic ends. Later, the Great Luo Sword Embryo was brought into the ancient immortal sight by the Five-Crown King. After the Five-Crown King fell, this sword embryo became ownerless, later accidentally obtained by Stone House. From then on, this sword embryo became Stone House weapon, accompanying him for nearly 2 million years. So, in this opening of the ancient immortal sight, Stone House obtained the two greatest opportunities. One is his future younger brother, and the other is the corpse Immortal Emperor's sword embryo. But the ultimate result was that this sword embryo ended up killing Stone House, while the drop of Emperor's blood allowed him to prematurely access his transmigration Taoist law, enabling him to grow. It could be said that this drop of blood saved him. So, the ancient immortal sight was a scheme orchestrated by both the deserted Heaven Emperor and the corpse Immortal Emperor. In the final battle, when the corpse Immortal Emperor saw the sword embryo in the deserted Heaven Emperor's hand, he didn't feel surprised, as if this sword embryo should have been in Stone House's hands. Later, he directly urged the sword embryo to slay the deserted Heaven Emperor. Therefore, this sword embryo was the corpse Immortal Emperor's scheme, acting across time and space. Furthermore, in order to defeat the deserted Heaven Emperor, he disregarded the imminent arrival of countless calamities, directly traversing endless time and space to arrive at Emperor's Gate during the period of the Emperor's Gate War. Later, he drove Enlon to confront Stone House, intending to kill the young Stone House. To counter the corpse Immortal Emperor's madness, when he saw him slashing towards Stone House directly activated his transmigration Taoist law, transforming himself into countless drops of blood that rained down across various time and space. Among them, one drop of blood fell into the future. Later, this drop of blood followed the all things primordial cauldron from the future to this era, meeting the young Stone House. During the Emperor's Gate War, this drop of blood manifested and merged with Stone House, allowing him to defeat Enlon and prematurely access his transmigration Taoist law. Later, in the Land of Ascension, this drop of blood even brought him back to the era of the fallen Emperor, giving him time to rise in this era. It could be said that if it weren't for this drop of blood, when the sword embryo slashed towards the deserted Heaven Emperor, Stone House would have definitely perished. But this drop of blood allowed him to grasp his transmigration Taoist law early, so he could catch the corpse Immortal Emperor's sword. Therefore, the sword embryo and the Emperor's blood were schemes by both the deserted Heaven Emperor and the corpse Immortal Emperor, acting across time and space. Unfortunately, even immortal emperors cannot change fate. Before his death, the corpse Immortal Emperor lamented that time and history could not be touched, and even he couldn't change it, instead causing great karma. The cause he mentioned was his sword embryo, and the effect was the drop of blood from the future that arrived.